Ever come back from a shopping trip with more purchases than you'd planned on? Well, we'll learn how that happens in this week's Smith Business Close-Up. Joining us is Rosellina Ferraro, Assistant Professor of Marketing. Dr. Ferraro, thanks for being with us.
Sure.
What got you interested in this topic?
Well, this has been some research I've been working on with a co-author for several years. We find it fascinating that when people go into a retail environment, they might come out with more than they planned or expected to.
Well, I can tell you one way that happens, which is I go to the grocery store hungry and bring back all sorts of stuff.
That's definitely one way where you're going to come out with things you didn't intend.
How else does it happen?
Well, a lot of times consumers actually use the store for cues. So they may not plan on what they purchased beforehand, but they get into the store and they see something on sale, so maybe a can of peas or something like that, and they buy it. And this is not something we would call very impulsive, but it is an unplanned purchase in the sense that they didn't intend to when they went into the store. So there could be things in the store environment itself that trigger us to remember things that we didn't remember going in, or it could enhance our desires for something. So when you see that chocolate cake, and you're hungry, you're going to buy that chocolate cake, whether you plan to or not.
How much are the marketers playing us with that stuff? You know, when you get to the chocolate cake aisle, they're sometimes maybe even, obviously you'll have a big picture of a chocolate cake. Maybe you'll have like the scent of cocoa, something like that?
Sure, or the scent of the nice flowers when you walk in, or coffee. This is a big industry in terms of what's called in-store marketing. It's basically done at the point of purchase because marketers and retailers know that consumers do make most of their decisions actually in the store. So the way the store is laid out, how items are presented, where coupons are placed, advertisements on the floor, all of these things are there for this purpose of getting us to make more choices and purchase more items in the store itself.
Yeah, you know, there's one drugstore chain that has its aisles laid out, and it's almost a maze, and it seems like the game is to get you to walk by as many products as possible before you find what you're actually looking for. Did the research turn up any different information about this?
Well, it was more in line, probably what most people would assume to be some of the factors that would lead you to do more unplanned purchasing. We looked at 3 different categories of variables. One is characteristics of the product itself. Another is some of the characteristics of the consumer. And then another set was activities that consumers can actually engage in to help them limit unplanned purchasing if that's what they want to do.
Well, and probably just being conscious of it is a big influence in that. What other strategies make sense?
So the factors that we looked at specifically in terms of what consumers can do are to come in with a list, which makes sense, right? You have a list, you're going to stick to the list, and if you go off list, you're probably going to do it less though than you would otherwise. The number of aisles that you actually go down. So the more aisles you go down, the more that you're exposed to the items in the store and the marketing. So you would limit the number of aisles you go into. I mean, if you're only planning to buy a few things, you say, well, I'm going to go down one aisle, that's it, right? And if that's all you do, you're going to have much less unplanned purchasing. How much time you spend in the store. And we also looked at payment method. In terms of if you are buying with a check and then more so with a credit card, you're going to be more likely to do unplanned purchasing. And then the last factor or activity that we looked at was how frequently you shop during a given week.
What's the influence of that?
Well, if you're only going to the store once a week, you most likely are going to make a lot of purchases. And just by the very nature of having to do a lot of purchasing, you're more likely to be making those decisions in the store instead of doing the planning. Whereas if you're going to the store 3 or 4 times a week, you're most likely going for specific items. And so you'll go in, get those items, and get out the door.
Interesting stuff. We appreciate your time. Dr. Rosellina Ferraro joining us from the Smith School of Business. Thanks again for being with us.
Thank you very much.